The neon sign outside Susan's Starside Cantina flickered against the perpetual twilight of Station Zenith 7. It was a modest establishment, wedged between a cargo depot and a neural link repair shop. The kind of place where freighter crews, smugglers, and the occasional lost tourist would stop for a drink before moving on to somewhere more important. Susan wiped down the synthwood bar with practiced efficiency, her eyes scanning the sparse evening crowd. A Thromalian couple chittered softly in the corner booth. Two human miners argued about ore prices at the bar's far end. And sitting alone at the darkest table, hunched over an empty glass, was the dragon. Well, not a real dragon, those only existed in Earth's ancient mythology. But the alien's appearance was close enough to make Susan's ancestral memories stir. Scales the color of deep emerald covered his massive frame, and membranous wings lay folded against his back like tattered battle standards. His snout was long and reptilian, with small wisps of steam occasionally escaping his nostrils. He'd been sitting there for 3 hours, nursing that single glass of Centauri whiskey, until it was nothing but melted ice. Susan had seen lonely before. The galaxy was full of it, spacers far from home, refugees fleeing war zones, travelers who'd outlived everyone they loved. But there was something different about this one, something heavy in the way his clawed fingers traced patterns on the empty glass, something ancient in the slump of his scaled shoulders. Another round? She'd asked twice. Each time, he'd simply shaken his massive head, his amber eyes never quite meeting hers. The third time, Susan didn't ask. She simply pulled a fresh glass, filled it with the good stuff real Earth beer from her personal stash, expensive as hell out here on the rim, and carried it over to his table. "On the house," she said, setting it down gently. The dragon alien looked up slowly, surprise flickering across his inhuman features. "I did not order this. I know." Susan pulled out the opposite chair and sat down uninvited, the way she might with any regular customer having a rough day. "But you looked like you could use it, and nobody should drink alone on a station this far from anywhere." His eyes, those strange, vertically slitted eyes, studied her with an intensity that should have been frightening. Susan had stared down Corvan warlords and Scythian debt collectors. She wasn't easily intimidated. "Why?" he asked simply. Susan shrugged. "Because kindness doesn't cost much. And because every living being in this cold galaxy deserves at least one moment where someone gives a damn." For a long moment, the alien said nothing. Then, slowly, one clawed hand reached for the glass. He brought it to his lips and drank deeply, his eyes closing as if savoring something long forgotten. "This is from your home world," he said quietly. "Earth. I can taste the specific gravity in the fermentation, the particular minerals in your water." "Good palate," Susan said, impressed. "Most aliens can't tell Earth beer from synthesized swill." "I have visited your world," he said. "We observed you from afar, wondering if you would survive your own violence, your own short-sighted greed." He paused, taking another sip. "Many wagered you would not. And yet here we are," Susan said with a wry smile. "Stubborn as hell and making decent beer." Something that might have been a laugh rumbled deep in the dragon's chest. "Yes. Here you are, indeed." He extended one massive claw in the human gesture of greeting. "I am Evan Thorzel Koth, though. You may call me Evan." Susan shook the proffered claw without hesitation. "Susan Reeves, owner and operator of this fine establishment." They talked for hours. Evan spoke of distant worlds and ancient civilizations, of empires that rose and fell while humanity was still painting on cave walls. Susan told him about her childhood on Earth, her time in the merchant marines, the dream that led her to open a bar on the edge of known space. She never asked why he was alone. He never explained the sadness that lingered in his eyes. Some wounds, Susan knew, were too deep for casual conversation. When the cantina's closing hour arrived, Evan stood slowly, his full height nearly reaching the ceiling. "Thank you, Susan Reeves," he said formally. "For the beer, for the company, for treating me as simply another being in need of kindness, rather than—" He trailed off, and Susan cocked her head. "Rather than what? Rather than what?" Evan's mouth curved into something approximating a smile. "It matters not. Know only that tonight you have given a gift to one who badly needed it." He left then, his massive form disappearing into the station's crowds. Susan didn't think much of it until 3 days later, when her cantina's credit account suddenly showed an anonymous deposit of 500,000 Union credits. Or when a pair of Imperial Draconis guards, the elite protectors of the Dragon Emperor himself, appeared at her door with a formal message. Her single act of kindness, it turned out, had been witnessed by Evan Thorzelkoth himself, Supreme Emperor of the Draconis Collective, ruler of 200 star systems, and one of the most powerful beings in the known galaxy. He'd been traveling incognito, the message explained, seeking respite from the crushing weight of empire. And in a forgettable bar on a forgettable station, a human woman had given him something his countless servants, advisors, and subjects never could: simple, uncomplicated human compassion. The credits, the message concluded, were not payment. One could not pay for genuine kindness. They were simply a gift, from one friend to another. Susan kept the message pinned above her bar for years afterward. A reminder that in a vast and often cold universe, small acts of humanity could ripple farther than anyone might imagine. And sometimes, when the cantina was quiet and she poured herself a beer at the end of a long shift, Susan would raise her glass to the empty corner table and smile. To kindness, to friendship, to the stubborn, beautiful humanity that had carried her species to the stars.